What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall market. I'm going to break down a very key level to be tested on Tesla and how we may end up reacting as time goes on. I'm also going to be talking about some other pieces of news involving President Trump and our economic calendar. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you sign up and deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 25 in total. And deposit $5,000, you're guaranteed 60 free stocks. You'll also qualify for an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash, and the offer ends on June 3rd. So check it out before they run out. Anyways, as far as the market's going, I just want to say that we are expecting some gaps down, and we'll just have to see how well Tesla and many other stocks can hold their key supports before we see a big continuation in what we're about to see in this trend. So, as many of you guys know, we had Moody's downgrade the US's credit rating. I did talk about this in a lot of detail over the weekend. They were talking about how our debt is approaching about $37 trillion and how just interest payments alone are already in the trillions. And they weren't very happy about that. They also thought that, it kind of puts the US in a more critical position. So they downgraded the US's rating from a AAA rating to a double A1 rating. Um, there are other rating agencies like Fitch and S&P. They downgraded the U.S. in the past. The most recent example was in August of 2023 when we had Fitch downgrade us, and we did see SPY in the market drop about 5% for the first couple of weeks, then a total of over 10% over 3 months. So, like I said before, there is that risk of downside with this news that came out, and we're actually seeing Tesla currently down at this level right over here. We're still trying to hold this 20 EMA though. This is at 333, and we'll be watching to see how well we hold this. Can we kind of bounce off this temporarily or start tipping lower? So I'll talk more about that in just a second. I first want to go over some news, and I'll break down more details about the charts. So one thing that's worth mentioning is that Tesla's going to be adding one of Chipotle's executives as a part of their board of directors. So hopefully we could see Jack do a good job, at least for the company moving forward. I just wish them all the best nonetheless. And then simultaneously, there's been some more news involving Tesla's FSD and Waymo's robotaxi. There was a test that was done by, I believe, Business Insider, and they claim that both companies did relatively well during the test, but they claimed that Waymo did a little bit better because they claimed that the Tesla FSD did cross one red light, but besides that, they're saying it was pretty much flawless on both sides. So both companies did really well, but just know that this is just one test, and if you conducted like hundreds of them or thousands of them, you still could have gotten different results. As far as FSD goes, you have to remember that it did very well, but besides them claiming it crossed a red light, and there's still a lot of improvements to be made, but still, doing a good job, and I just hope for the best for them. They also did this in remembrance of the robotaxi event. So for those who are denying it, right, I just want to say that Tesla is going to be planning to launch the robotaxi service in Austin, Texas, as soon as next month. That's massive news. That's why Tesla was running for the last couple of weeks, not to mention other factors with the market. So that's going to be big news. And I just want to say that, we know that the robotaxi is not going to be 100% perfect when it comes out, but it's going to be very useful. And this could be another big revenue stream for Tesla to start things off, which is going to grow and improve once we get lots and lots of improvements. And I think that's great news nonetheless. On top of this, we had Scott Bessent and many others talk about what President Trump wants to do, which is impose particular tariffs on certain countries that don't necessarily negotiate in quote unquote good faith on deals. So what's going on is we have President Trump saying that for all the countries, right, they paused the tariffs for 90 days back in April. Now President Trump is saying he wants to increase the tariffs on them if they don't come up with deals in the next upcoming weeks. And we had Bessent come out and defend what he is saying, as they want to get deals as soon as possible, especially with China. So that's some news that's come out, at least from yesterday. Besides that, I'm not seeing anything else that's too crazy coming out during the pre-markets, but keep in mind futures are still down a bit after Moody's downgrade. When it comes to NVIDIA, there's been some announcements such as new products coming out for them to keep the company at the center of AI development. So that's some good news for NVIDIA. And besides that, I think I went over pretty much everything else in my previous videos. Today is Monday, May 19th. Expect some volatility as we have Bostic, Jefferson, and Williams giving speeches. Then we also have Logan Kashkari later on. Kashkari is going to be a big one, so get ready for that at 1:30 p.m. And then besides that, there's not really much going on with earnings. So that being said, let's focus now on what's happening with the charts. Okay, so as far as Tesla's going, we have a double top here and we're dipping, but notice we have this first support at this 333.9 area. That's going to be our 20 EMA right here. Okay, so we're going to be watching, do we get some kind of bounce move here? Do we see a small bounce? And then do we start eventually losing this? Because if we bounce and get back above, such as like, 345, then this could try to retest 350. But if we bounce and reject and we end up losing 333, then I expect us to dip towards 325. I think we dipped to 325. And if that doesn't hold, then yes, Tesla will be dumping a lot more. So we'll be watching to see how well 325 holds. So it depends on our levels, of course. But I just want to say the current setup on Tesla is a little bit more bearish. When you get these rejections like this, it's just making lower highs on a 4-hour basis. So we'll see if we get a little pop. We'd be very, very blessed if we got a move like this, and then we just start dipping because this could be a really good shorting opportunity. But we'll just have to wait and see. I do think we might see a move like this where we get a little bounce, a small one. We already bounced about 3 to 4 points right over here. Maybe we go a little higher, and then we could start to turn lower. And then if 333 does not hold, we're looking for a move down to like 325. So please keep that in mind. We're watching for that on Tesla and for the broader markets. As far as SPY goes, my prediction was that SPY would test 585. We actually had 586 and rebounded. I was talking about a rebound to be coming. So it's the same thing, right? As long as we're above 585, we could be looking for a small bounce move. If we get back above like 590 4, we could be trying to go higher again. But if we come short of 594 during this bounce move, then we could be looking for a move back down. And if we lose 585, we're looking for a dump to 580 or below. So there's an opportunity here. If we do get some kind of nice rebound, this could be a shorting opportunity. But if it's a small, teeny, tiny bounce, if it's just like a point or two, be prepared for that downside move if we make a lower high relative to this high. So please be very, very careful for that move on SPY. The QQQ has the same thing going on, or the triple Q. The triple Q has this resistance at 517 and 520. If we get above 517, we could try to get close to 520, but it depends. Do we break this high at 520 to be bullish, or do we make a lower high and then we reject? If we don't hold 513, we're looking for a dump to like 510 or below. So keep that in mind. That's what we're watching for as time goes on. On the IWM Russell 2000, we have the support at 206. Um, we want to see if this holds. If we get a little rebound move to about 208, and if that fails us, if we can't hold above 208, then I do expect us to test 205, and we'll be watching to see if this support, like right over here, holds. If not, we're looking for that dump to fill this gap, and I do think we might be doing that soon. So please be prepared just to be safe. It depends on, do we break 210 to be bullish? If we can't get back above that, I am anticipating downside. Even on ES, right? We're still barely holding 5,900, but don't forget there's that gap down here, and we have a bearish divergence. So we're watching, we were making higher highs, higher lows before like this. Are we about to do the opposite? Are we about to get a rejection, bounce a little bit off this 5,900 area? And if we lose 5,900, we're looking for 5,836 as our next target in case we get a rejection. That's a sign of a pivot. On NQ, it's the same thing. We have this support to watch for at 20,900 and resistance at 21,400. We could be pushing to the low 21,000s, like 21,250 to 21,300. If we make lower highs, we're looking for a rejection. Then we could be dipping to 20,900 all the way back down. For Bitcoin, we're rejecting here. We're watching 101,000. So this is a sign, the market could be looking for support. If we lose 101,000, we're looking for a dump below 100,000. Like I said about Tesla, we have a double top, but look for a test of 333. Can we bounce a little bit off this? It's possible, but then we may continue to dip lower if we lose 333. I do anticipate us to dip all the way down to like 325 or below. NVIDIA has support at 130. We have to see if 130 holds. If it holds, we're looking for a rebound. If it doesn't, we could see a small rebound move, like I said before, but we need to break these highs. We need to see us break 136 if we come short. And if 130 does not hold, then I expect us to dip to 125 or below. For Apple, same thing, might be retesting 210 or so. If we get above like 210.2, we could try to push a little higher. I could see us go up to like 209 or so, but if we don't hold above 210, we could be returning to 206 or below. So just keep that in mind as time goes on. That's going to be very important for the way in which we end up continuing to move. Um, if we turn lower, especially as we have this gap over here, watch and see if 205 breaks for us to continue lower. For the rest of these, I'm going to be kind of quick. AMD might be retesting, 117 or so. But then if we end up losing 113, I do expect us to dip lower towards like 110 to 107. For let me skip over to Coinbase. We're kind of consolidating. I did talk about this, how I think we might make a move like this, but we might be dipping a bit more towards 248. So be careful. Amazon, giant gap to fill. We're just barely holding support. Might retest 203, but if we don't hold 200, I do expect this gap fill to 193 soon. It's very probable. Meta needs to hold above 636. If not, we're looking for a move down to 615 or below to fill that gap. On Microsoft, we might see a small push. We need to see it lose like 450 at the very least. Might consolidate first, but if 450 fails us, then that's when we're finally looking for like 444 or below. And for Google, we have a bearish divergence. If we don't hold 160, we're looking for a dip back down to 158. So keep that in mind. The VIX is trying to break here. There is this gap over here, so we'll see which way the VIX turns. Do we start to kind of like come down to our 20 EMA or so just a bit before it starts to launch? I'll be watching that as well. So for now, look for a small rebound in the markets. Okay, we're going to see SPY and they'll just rebound just a bit here. And we'll be watching, do we make a lower high compared to these highs before we come back down? Same thing with Tesla. Will Tesla break and hold above at least 345 or so to turn back up, or do we come short? Do we try to rebound a bit and then come short? And then if we start dipping, that's a sign we're changing our direction, at least temporarily, and this dip could be a little bit more deep, taking us down. Watch that 333 area. It's very, very key for Tesla. Then we could be looking for a pullback if that fails. Okay, so thank you for listening. Have a good one, and peace out.